Egypt, officially the Arab Republic of Egypt, is a transcontinental country located in the northeastern corner of Africa and the southwestern corner of Asia, comprising the Sinai Peninsula. It is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea to the north, the Gaza Strip and Israel to the northeast, the Red Sea to the east, Sudan to the south, and Libya to the west. The Gulf of Aqaba in the northeast separates Egypt from Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Cairo is the capital and largest city of Egypt. Alexandria, the second largest city, is a major industrial and tourism center on the Mediterranean coast. With a population of approximately 100 million, Egypt is the 14th most populous country in the world and the third most populous in Africa. Egypt, with its history stretching back to the 6th and 4th millennia BC along the Nile Delta, boasts one of the longest continuous civilizations. Considered the cradle of civilization, ancient Egypt saw some of the earliest developments in writing, agriculture, urban settlements, organized religion, and centralized government. Before largely adopting Islam in the 7th century, Egypt was a significant center of Christianity. Cairo served as the capital of the Fatimid Caliphate in the 10th century and the Mamluk Sultanate in the 13th century. Becoming part of the Ottoman Empire in 1517, Egypt remained under Ottoman rule until Muhammad Ali Pasha established an autonomous Khedivate in 1867, subsequently occupied by the British Empire. Egypt gained independence as a monarchy in 1922. The 1952 revolution led to the establishment of a republic and the formation of the United Arab Republic with Syria in 1958, which dissolved in 1961. Egypt engaged in several armed conflicts with Israel in 1948, 1956, 1967, and 1973, occupying the Gaza Strip until 1967. In 1978, Egypt formally recognized Israel following the Camp David Accords, agreeing to withdraw from the Sinai Peninsula. The Arab Spring of 2011 led to the Egyptian Revolution and the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak, plunging the country into a period of prolonged political instability. This period included the short-lived Islamist government of the Muslim Brotherhood, led by Mohammed Morsi, which was elected in 2012 and ousted in 2013 following mass protests. Egypt, under the semi-presidential system led by Abdel Fattah el-Sisi since his election in 2014, has been criticized by some observers as authoritarian and responsible for the country's poor human rights record. Islam is the official religion and Arabic the official language of Egypt. The vast majority of the population lives along the Nile River, an area of approximately 40,000 square kilometers that is the only arable land. The Sahara Desert covers most of Egypt, with sparse settlements in vast areas. Approximately 43% of Egyptians live in urban areas, concentrated in the densely populated centers of Cairo, Alexandria, and other major cities in the Nile Delta. Egypt is considered a regional power in North Africa, the Middle East, and the Islamic world, and a middle power globally. It is a developing country with a diversified economy, the third largest in Africa and the 38th largest in the world in terms of nominal GDP, and the 127th largest in terms of nominal GDP per capita. Egypt is a founding member of the United Nations, the Non-Aligned Movement, the Arab League, the African Union, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and the World Youth Forum, too, and is also a member of the BRICS. Rock art evidence suggests that hunter-gatherer and fishing cultures existed along the Nile and in desert oases as early as the 10th millennium BCE. Around 8000 BCE, climate change or overgrazing began to dry out Egypt's pastoral lands, contributing to the formation of the Sahara. Early tribal peoples migrated towards the Nile River, where they developed a settled agricultural economy and a more centralized society. By approximately 6000 BCE, a Neolithic culture had taken root in the Nile Valley. Several pre-dynastic cultures developed independently in Upper and Lower Egypt during this period. The Badarian culture and its successor, Naqada, are generally considered the precursors to the Egyptian dynastic period. Merimna, the earliest known Lower Egyptian site, dates back about 700 years before Badari. While contemporary Lower Egyptian communities coexisted and interacted with their southern counterparts for over 2 millennia, they remained culturally distinct. The earliest known evidence of Egyptian hieroglyphs appears on Naqada III pottery, dating back to around 3200 BC. Around 3150 BCE, King Menes united Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom, marking the beginning of a series of dynasties that ruled Egypt for the next 3 millennia. Egyptian culture flourished during this long period, developing unique religious, artistic, linguistic, and cultural traditions. The first 2 dynasties of a unified Egypt set the stage for the Old Kingdom, during which many pyramids were constructed between approximately 2700 and 2200 BC. The most famous of these are the Step Pyramid of Djoser and the Great Pyramids of Giza, built during the 4th dynasty. In 525 BC, under the leadership of Cambyses II, the Achaemenid Empire launched an invasion of Egypt. The campaign culminated in the Battle of Pelusium, where Pharaoh Sanik III was captured. Cambyses II subsequently assumed the title of pharaoh but governed Egypt as a satrapy, ruling from Susa, which is now located within the borders of Iran. Despite several rebellions against the Achaemenids during the 5th century BC, Egypt was unable to permanently overthrow Persian rule. The 30th dynasty was the last native Egyptian dynasty to rule during the Pharaonic period. Egypt fell back under Achaemenid rule in 343 BC after the defeat of the last native pharaoh, Nectanebo II. This Persian rule was short-lived, as the Achaemenids were overthrown by Alexander the Great a few decades later. Alexander's Macedonian general, Ptolemy I, established the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt. Egypt experiences a hot, sunny, and arid climate. Most of the country's rainfall occurs during the winter months. In areas south of Cairo, annual rainfall is typically between 2 and 5 millimeters, often with intervals of several years between precipitation events. The northern coast receives more rainfall, with annual totals reaching up to 410 millimeters, primarily between October and March. Snowfall occasionally occurs in the Sinai Mountains and some coastal cities in the north, such as Damietta, Baltim, and Sidi Barani, while Alexandria experiences rare snowfall. In a rare event, a small amount of snow fell on Cairo in December 2013. Frost can also occur in the central Sinai and central Egypt. Temperatures in Egypt are high, especially during the summer months. The cool Mediterranean breezes on the north coast can provide some relief, particularly during the summer. The hot and dry Khamsin wind, originating from the large deserts in the south, blows in the spring or early summer, bringing scorching sand and dust. This wind can raise daytime temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius along the coast and up to 50 degrees Celsius in inland areas. During these periods, relative humidity can drop to 5% or even lower. Before the construction of the Aswan High Dam, the annual flooding of the Nile River replenished Egypt's soil, ensuring a continuous harvest and supporting agriculture. A potential rise in sea levels due to global warming could threaten Egypt's densely populated coastal areas and have severe consequences for the country's economy, agriculture, and industry. Combined with population growth, this sea level rise could lead to millions of Egyptians becoming environmental refugees by the end of the 21st century, according to some climate experts.
Iría a nuestra derecha.
Egypt signed the Rio Convention on Biological Diversity on June 9, 1992, and became a party to the convention on June 2, 1994. On July 31, 1998, it prepared a national biodiversity strategy and action plan for the convention. While many countries' biodiversity plans focus solely on animals and plants, Egypt's plan includes records of various other life forms. According to this plan, a total of 1,483 algae species, approximately 15,000 animal species, more than 627 fungal species, 319 Monera species, 2,426 plant species, and 371 protozoa species have been recorded in Egypt. However, there is insufficient data on larger groups, such as lichen-forming fungi and nematodes. Given the understudied nature of many groups, excluding smaller and well-studied groups like amphibians, birds, fish, mammals, and reptiles, these numbers are likely to increase. For instance, subsequent studies on fungi have recorded over 2,200 species in Egypt, suggesting that the total number of fungal species in the country is significantly higher. Additionally, a total of 284 native or introduced grass species have been identified in Egypt,